Airplanes fly up to a maximum of 70,000 feet above the Earth's surface. Now I want you to think about, in movies, when you see human beings in human-built rocket ships, there is always a part of the movie where the rocket will be shaking and things will heat up. When does this heating up begin? When does the rocket begin to shake and tremble? It's at this point, 87 kilometers above the Earth's surface. If a rocket ship is leaving Earth headed towards space, this area from 87 kilometers to 145 kilometers above the Earth's surface is what we call the re-entry zone. It is the only reason why human beings would require a heat shield. Now I want you to go back to movies that you have seen. In movies, you will see human beings in rocket ships, and they are in space. And what happens is their rocket ship, they can turn the rocket ship off. And now the rocket ship will gently go around the Earth. Now we are in space. Where is this area? Where does space begin? Space begins around about 143 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Now, I would like to point out something in case you are a child or a teenager who is learning. Unfortunately, there are many lies that human beings have told about things that happen in this area. And I have gone out of my way to bring you the truth. And this is the truth, and I will point out the lies. But I would suggest that you keep this to yourself, because human beings are very dangerous and untrustworthy, and I am so sorry about that. I am now going to tell you the truth about where human beings have been and where they have not been. Unfortunately, they have told many lies, and they are still maintaining lies. This area from 145 kilometers above the Earth's surface to 643 kilometers above the Earth's surface is the only area where a human being has ever been and come back to Earth alive. Human beings are unable to go beyond 643 kilometers above the Earth's surface and further travel into space. They have lied about their moon missions. No human being on this earth has ever been to the moon. Part of these lies were made up because of ego and greed. We have never been to the moon, and that is the truth. This area of space is where all the space rockets go with human beings in them. It's where all the space stations are, where human beings reside in space to make observations. So I'm sure you've heard of the International Space Station and the Bubble Space Station. I'm sure you've heard of satellites and other technical pieces of equipment that we use. Well, this area of space is the only area where human beings can safely travel without dying. And it is also the only area where satellites can reside without being partially destroyed. And I'll explain that to you in a moment. Again, I am so sorry that human beings are still engaging in absolutely deceptive, outrageous lies. They should be in jail. Hopefully they will be put in jail soon for lying to children and teenagers. Please keep this to yourself, because human beings are capable, because of their ego and their greed and their need for power and control. They can get very angry when they are presented with the truth. Be wise and just go along with what they say, but inside in your mind, you know that this is the truth. If you would like to contact me, I will make sure that I put my email below this video. You may want to know what kind of education I have. Well, I'll explain to you now. I have a Bachelor of Science honors degree. I focused on physics and behavioral neuroscience. And after that, I went to law school and I practiced law for 25 years. And then I was disbarred by my law society. They called me the ungovernable. It's a good thing that they called me that, because it's true. Because I like to look at the truth, and I would rather lose a license or be put down by men and other human beings because I don't respect them, because they lie. And now I don't have anything to lose because I've lost everything. But I'm so happy because I can now tell the truth. Speaking of which, let's get back to the important things, the truth. So remember that it is true that there are manned satellites. They're called space stations. This is one of them, Hubble. It resides at a maximum of 550 kilometers above the Earth's surface. And now you're going to find out where we came from. You're going to find out how matter, in other words, a rock here on Earth, or your fishing rod, or your sewing machine, matter. These are things. Things are matter. What is matter? This is energy that requires space, a finite amount of space. And now we're going to talk about how the Earth was created and how human beings are created and were created. And we're going to talk about heaven, and we're going to talk about Jesus of Nazareth and God. And I want you to remember that I am the only person who will tell you the truth. Because just as you cannot rely on the word of man, NASA, Wikipedia, Google, about 95% of what is reported is a lie. Similarly, religious texts have many lies as well. It's not because God lied. It is because when Jesus of Nazareth was here on earth, he brought the truth. And some people wanted to record it and write it down. So some, not very much, but some of what's in the Bible, some of it is the closest that you will get to the truth. But to find the truth, you must either listen to me, because I am willing to risk my life only for the truth, for God. What I will do, however, is I will now begin to use some scientific studies and the book of Genesis so that you will know what parts of those are true. What you are looking at right now is something that human beings call the Van Allen radiation belts. And there is no man or woman on this earth who understands, except for me, that this area includes heaven and the waters above. Heaven you can think of as the firmament. It's not the earth. The firmament is a mass that is right in the middle of the radiation belts. You may have heard of the waters below and the waters above. What that refers to are the above the firmament and below the firmament. This is not the earth, because what happened was God created the earth and then proceeded to create everything else on the earth, all the creatures in the sea, and human beings. Evolution is a lie. You will be told, and you've probably already been brought to museums, and you will be told that a human being evolved from this and evolved from that. Well, they will bring you right back to a crustacean and tell you that a human being evolved from a lobster. It's a lie. We did not evolve from dinosaurs either. If you're wondering what dinosaurs are, God did not create those creatures. Those creatures came from something called backfill. They were they were entities that were very low vibrational and not well intended. Those creatures, you could think of them as reptilians, early stages of reptilians. There are also other strange species, but these species, yes, dinosaurs did exist, and so did other ugly-looking creatures, but they were not made by God. At some point they were allowed, they were very, you could think of them as criminals that were sent to Earth. They were called backfill. The problem is, there was an assumption that that they would eventually die out. Well, some of them did, but they are now on Earth right now. The reason why they could survive was they began to breed with human beings. And so some of these evil intended reptilians are now in the form of human beings. And there are evil people that are not completely human. They call them the Illuminati, and they are doing terrible things. And they, for example, have our Earth in the past year, there have been two potentially very apocalyptic accidents that could have resulted in the entire destruction of the Earth at a laboratory called CERN. And right now, there are some beautifully divine, well-intentioned, loving celestial beings. They are, you can call them aliens, the Arcturians and the Pleiadians. There are wonderful, wonderful, unconditionally loving, aliens that are protecting us right now. At the moment, CERN is under 24-hour patrol by the aliens. The aliens have prevented no less than 2 potentially apocalyptic, catastrophic accidents. We would, if it were not for the aliens, you would not be alive right now, nor would I, and the earth would not exist. This is being done by people in positions of power who your parents are probably telling you to respect. Again, you're going to have to keep your mouth shut and just trust me on this. Also, in the past year, the other thing that the aliens are doing is they're cleansing the atmosphere, the gases that are coming off us, emanating upward. We would also be dead. We would not be able to breathe right now were it not for the aliens. And just let me demonstrate to you how man, when they report on the news, how they are in their vein and in their egoism and their hypocrisy and their stupidity. They are really stupid. Little did they know that the aliens are the only reason why we're alive right now. The aliens are protecting you so that man does not destroy the earth. So you may have heard of UFOs monitoring U.S. Military bases. They are there because there were very, very dangerous nuclear weapons that they meant to use them. And do you know what else they wanted and have used the nuclear weapons on? Heaven, which is that Van Allen radiation belt in the firmament within, which is where human beings, when you die, you don't die. But if you actually, your soul will go to the firmament, to heaven. It's like a lobby. But in order for your soul to live on, you can pass through the Van Allen radiation belt. That's where you're supposed to be when your body dies, and your soul becomes a sort of a mist. Okay, but it's in a beautiful form that will easily pass through that belt, and you will be welcomed. You will end up on the firmament, and that's where Jesus is. And from there, you will then be able to go to another realm, and you can become another body. You see, nothing ends. There are wonderful things ahead. But the problem is, men of this earth are very, very stupid. Very stupid. And they if you told them this information, they would just, I don't know what they would do, but they're not worth it. This is why you have to keep this to yourself. Okay? Now, what is that Van Allen radiation belt for? What it's for is the only being that can enter and pass through the Van Allen radiation belt, if you think of that place as heaven, which it is. Does your body, if you didn't die and you tried to pass through those belts, you would be like the foolish, stupid astronauts. You would be as stupid as Elon Musk, and you would be as stupid as everyone at NASA, because they don't understand what that is. That is an incredibly, incredibly advanced area. It's like a place, it's like a giant particle accelerator, except it has brains and love and God. CERN is like, they're trying to copy this thing. What CERN is trying to do is they think that what happens is, you see, man, because he doesn't believe in God, he fears death. He thinks that he's going to die. They think that when their bodies die, that they die, because they don't know what they are. They don't know where they came from, because they didn't believe in Jesus. And it's all a big misunderstanding. But it's mostly born of stupidity, of stupid men. Stupid men. Let me explain what happens to you and why you're alive right now. When you are born, all right, when your little body comes out of your mother's womb, physically, before you take your first breath, your body is actually dead for about, from the minute that your little body leaves your mother's womb. And I'm sure you've seen in movies doctors hitting, spanking babies and shoving things down their throat. Those are stupid men. They're very stupid. Because what happens, in order for you to take your first breath, there is something called the Holy Spirit. And what it is, the reason why they call it the Holy Spirit is because that is the kind of mist that can easily come in and out of that Van Allen radiation belt. That is like, if you've ever watched Star Trek and you see "Beam me up, Scotty," well, that is like a "Beam me up, Scotty" place. You can be beamed anywhere, any place, any realm. You can, what happens is, if you can think of when you come out of your mother's womb, what happens is, if you could think of it as maybe a mist that comes out, it's like an angel. It's the Holy Spirit. It's the waters of life. It's what it is. It's what makes a human being, what brings a human being back to life for the few seconds that your little body is actually dead, and the doctors are spanking the baby and shoving things down its throat. What happens is, a beautiful, loving little Holy Ghost, actually the Holy Spirit is involved in giving you your first breath. The Holy Ghost is involved in resurrecting you, bringing when your body dies, another beautiful little spiritual being will bring your soul. Your soul will lift your soul, the true you, out of your dead body. And it needs to go to that place right there that you're looking at, the Van Allen radiation belts, in order to bring you to the lobby, the firmament. And in the lobby, you are still a mist, but you are you're you. You're not losing anything. And from there, you can leave, because you're a mist. You can leave the Van Allen radiation belts and become a body again, whatever you want. Well, actually, you can't do whatever you want, because you must have pleased God in some way. In other words, I heavily suggest that you start thinking for yourself, because life is eternal. It really is. It's fun. Let me tell you what would happen if that Van Allen radiation belt were not there. Babies would be born and they would never breathe. And human beings, their bodies would die, and they will never be able to, their actual consciousness would be stuck in, you've heard of purgatory or hell. Well, actually, it's kind of like that. It is a never-ending misery, because you're floating. You can never become a human being again. So, in other words, that what you're looking at right there is what allows us to live forever. Now, how ironic that all of the men of the earth, they think that that's in the way. If you read in Wikipedia and some studies, you will read that they treat that as a nuisance. Why is it a nuisance? Because they don't know the true nature of who they are. They are like spoiled, rotten brats, and they're stupid as well, very stupid. It's a very sad thing that in 1964, this is how childish and stupid people at NASA were, and our presidents. Do you know what they tried to do in 1964? They shot as many nuclear weapons as they could, trying to destroy the heaven, literally trying to destroy the very place that will give them eternal life. And even now, today, you will read, if you get on the internet and you'll read how man views that, they are now they're trying to get, how do we remove it? Do you know why they want to remove it? Because they want to go to the moon. Do you know why they want to go to the moon? Because they're embarrassed because they've never been there. It was a lie. They told a big lie because they wanted to show off. They wanted to compete and show off. So you can see, it's very sad. It's very sad. Now let me read you something that's really cool to lift your spirits. One thing that you have to understand is that the sun and the moon are essential to animals and to us. And well, actually, they were essential because what will happen very soon, it'll definitely happen before 2030, is there will be an apocalyptic event, and nobody's doing it to us. Well, actually, we did it to ourselves by splitting the atom, which defied God, because that was given to us so we could grow things and make materials and build houses. We were supposed to enjoy those things. But what happened was man started destroying the environment, and certain things that man did disrupted the way that everything was supposed to work here. And so what's going to happen very soon is all of the systems and the flow of everything, and the darkness and the light and the day and night and everything that made us able to have a beautiful earth and enjoy the seasons. The animals all of the animals, and even our bodies, we use it subconsciously, that the location of the stars and the moon and the amount of light, because during the day there is light from the sun, and God had it all set up so that we would have the borrowed light of the moon. Everything worked in conjunction so that the animals could navigate. The animals are built to pick up when they simply are just, was a beautiful flow. So they would know when to migrate. They would know when to sleep, when to get up. And now what will happen is as man destroyed everything, they're going to become very confused, and they're going to look around, and they'll begin to die. It's very sad because man is very, very stupid. Now here's a description of, it's the first page of Genesis, and they also call it the first book of Moses. Now again, some of this has not been translated well enough, but there are a few passages that will make sense to you. So the one thing that I want to explain to you about the Van Allen belts is that only recently, probably within the last decade, man discovered that there is the firmament. It's like a slate of mass in other words, what do I mean by mass? There are some electrons. Electrons are mass. They are not. They don't exist in the quantum field. The quantum field. You might know a little bit about it, but as human beings, we can't see it. But it's because it's everywhere and nowhere. Space and time are not relevant. But what happens inside that radiation belt is there are areas where photons, which are it's energy, packets of energy, you could think of it, that packets of electromagnetic energy that can exist as both the mist, okay, as part of you when you're going to heaven to to find out what your next journey will be, and to but it's also used if you've ever heard of a particle accelerator, you will know that where does an electron come from? How does an electron come into being? How does it go from being a probability amplitude to a particle? Well, the process just so happens to be exactly like what happens in the Van Allen radiation belts. There's a certain speed energy. It's close to the speed of light. Notice how they say close. And that's interesting because there is a certain frequency where where energy cannot exist as a particle. And it's everything beyond the speed of light. It will become a wave, it will become an infinite wave, like a loop, a different kind of a wave that we have at speeds below the speed of light. For example, sound is actually made up of particles because it bounces off walls. So we know that it's not infinite waveless energy. Now, this is a card from a tarot deck that was designed in the early 1900s by a man named Edward Arthur Waite. Now, I'm about to prove to you the existence of God and men who knew God and who could communicate with God. I'm about to prove to you that in the early 1900s, that wonderful man, he's passed away now, God rest his soul, but he knew that inside the Van Allen radiation belts, he knew that was heaven. He knew the firmament was heaven. He knew God exists. He knew where Jesus of Nazareth came from. And let me tell you why. In tarot, Jesus is always the King of Cups. He has a fish necklace. In 1908, Edward Arthur Waite, in the creation of this deck, made many secret references to where heaven is located in the firmament and where we came from, where Jesus came from in this very card. Have a look at the water, the colors of the water. It's the same as the colors of the electron rains, and when you look at the way that the Van Allen radiation belts flow, it looks like an ocean, a flow. It bulges up, it behaves like water, and there are showers of electron rain that come out of it. So have a look at the next picture. It always shows up with those colors. You've got sort of green, red, and blue, and you have the same colors here, but look at the water below the mass, the slate that he's on. It doesn't really look like our ocean here. It refers to the waters above the firmament and the waters below, which is essentially the Van Allen radiation belts. And now I'm going to read to you from chapter 1 of Genesis. This is the Old Testament. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. And darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Those are photons. And God saw the light that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." What Genesis, what the first book of Moses there is referring to. The waters above and the waters below refer to the two halves of the Van Allen radiation belt. These are not the waters on the Earth, but they are the waters of the Van Allen radiation belt. All right, let me continue. So I'll go back. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." So if you look at that little slate that the King of Cups there, which is Jesus, is sitting on, that's the firmament. Okay? That actually exists. And I'll give you a reference to it in a moment. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together onto one piece." And now he's beginning to make the earth. "And let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. Now these are the waters on our earth. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth." And it was so. Now that seed, this is an example of something that man thinks that he made. The seed that was made by God, and he actually went out of his way to make sure that man could take the seed from the tree. In other words, so we can do a certain amount. That's so we could regenerate things. But as you can see, all things were created by God, not by man. Everything on the earth was designed and created by God. Nothing would be here without this process that took place right here. We were not, a human being did not do this. God did it, okay? Now, but we don't I don't want to make you think that you're just a human being. You're not. The insane thing is, you're not really a human being. Your body is just, it's like a vehicle. The reason why you think you are your body is because in the 3D, the consciousness observes. We're using our eyes to take in information. So our soul has really gotten stuck in our body because we're looking around, and so it's very localized. But you can actually, without dying, you can lift up your true self out of your body without being dead. Through, I don't recommend it though. We can try it if you want, but if you just want to prove to yourself, but it's kind of silly. But anyway, now, so let me move on to something else. What I was going to tell you was, Now NASA is always lying, and there are lies all over the place. So, but they claim, I don't know if it's a lie or not, but if you ask a man, on this earth, if you ask someone, when did we discover that the Van Allen radiation belts were there? They will probably answer 1958 because that's what's reported on Wiki. But you can tell by reading everything up to today's date, they still don't know what it is. They think that it's so that Earth can be protected from this and protect. They're just very, very stupid people. So at some point, what was happening was right before 1964. From 1958 to 1964, they were trying to get to the moon because President Kennedy, who was also an idiot and boastful and full of ego, he gave this speech and said, and we're going to go to the moon and we're going to do it we're going to do it before the decade is out. Well, he was a very stupid man. Very stupid. Very stupid. Because what he did was he set off something that pretty much led to the destruction that is going to occur. So it will either occur in the next few months or sometime before 2030. But if you are listening to this, and you just keep your mouth shut because it's going to be very dangerous for people who start discovering Jesus of Nazareth. If you're listening to this and you're a teenager or a child, or I don't know, you would have to be somebody who trusts yourself and somebody who desires the truth. You may be a chosen one because there are a certain number of human beings who will not die in the catastrophic event that will occur very soon on the earth. The aliens, what they're doing right now is they're watching, and they've realized that they cannot stop. We're beyond the point of any return now. We didn't meet our schedules. We didn't get rid of the waste and the toxic. It was mainly the nuclear weapons that are destroying the earth right now, at radiation. And why are they just, if God made all things good, why is this happening? Well, we were supposed to do one thing, accept the beautiful building blocks that we had, and accept that the basic building block, we don't need to know that. It was the atom, and inside an atom, there are protons and there are neutrons. In the nucleus, there are electrons. But what gives the atom the beautiful energy are the electrons. Well, man wasn't satisfied with that. He just wanted to break it down because he wanted to get to the photon and control it. But the photon is God. So what happened was he defied one of these laws, and of course it was when we created the first atomic bomb in 1945, it was a result of splitting the atom. And it began a chain of events because it wasn't supposed to be split. So it's kind of like it caused a domino effect, a really terrible energy, forceful energy. We didn't know what we were doing. It caused a lot of deformities. It prevents, when a cell is dividing, it demagnetizes certain. When cells are dividing, you know that there's a strand of DNA in the cell, and in order for that strand to properly divide, for the two chromosomes go to one side, two go to the other, only if there's no dark radiation from us splitting the atom. So what will happen is when we've disrupted the proper, when we split the atom, then it's very sad when the cell starts to divide, and Three chromosomes will be pulled to one side and one over the other because we have destroyed the magnetivity, the electromagnetivity, the beautiful, perfect working. Basically, man destroyed everything. So what will happen is there will be, and nobody's doing it, we did it to ourselves. What will happen is the poles are going to flip and something else is going to occur before that. But guess what? There's good news. And if you're still listening to me right now, and you start praying and you start thinking for yourself and you keep your mouth shut because you cannot get the truth from a human being. I'm here to give you the truth. All right, you can email me if you want, but you must be very, very careful who you're talking to. Now, so your only hope really is that our only hope, the chosen ones, will be that so God, who is not, my understanding is that the Galactic Federation are heavenly creatures. They say they don't like to talk about hierarchy and bosses. They always say we. It's a unified whole. And, as you can see, it's the opposite. Here on Earth, there's a leader in power. That's why those people are going to die. But the good news is there will be, there could be close to 300,000 or more human beings who will be able to be safe. But those people have 144,000 of them have a divine right, but they may not exercise it, and some of them don't even know that they're here to be, to participate in this process. I run a tarot channel, and I've discovered recently, I always wondered, everyone always says, why do you read for Aquarius? I've now discovered I'm an Aries. All of the people that I read for are chosen ones. They're the star. And so I have 13,000 on one and close to 30,000 on the other. There are 144,000 of them. So I have a very important role. What I have to do is I have to keep giving them as much truth as I can. And what I've been doing, because I'm an intuitive psychic, I don't predict the future because that's not the kind of psychic that I am is I pick up on communication from otherworldly beings, and I can pretty much figure out who's who or where they are, but it doesn't really matter. They're loving beings, and they generally give me the information to disseminate to the chosen ones so they can get it. And so here's the good news. If you're listening to this right now, you probably are. Okay? So you might say, well, how am I going to live? Well, here's what you're going to do. You're not going to talk about this to any man or woman, okay? You remember that they're liars. They're dangerous. And so what you do is you just keep your mouth shut and you keep studying everything that I post. And also, you start to pray. You just pray. What you do, if you've noticed, by the way, you might see unusual clouds during the day, or things that they don't look like clouds. They behave unusually. That's the Galactic Federation. They're here to help. They will assist us in getting into the other dimension, which it's going to be a 5D upgrade, which means our physical bodies will not die during the apocalypse, because we will have the assistance of the Galactic Federation, who are acting on the orders of God. Okay, we might even see God soon, because there is talk amongst certain beings about the great comforter. And that is the God of the God. That's God, okay? That's the heavy hitter. And I believe that that person, I've been on, rather ironically, God, I believe, is in physical form. Christ is not. The Holy Spirit and the Holy Ghost and the waters of life, these are all beings that are not physical, but God is. So, for example, there are there are stupid men at NASA who know that we didn't go to the moon. That's one thing that God is not pleased about. I mean, God is not pleased about the lying, all right? We were never meant to go to the moon. And of course, can you imagine how complacent and thankless these people who've written these articles saying, is it in the way, or the Van Allen radiation belts in the way of us getting the moon? Can you imagine? All right, so remember, some of you who've heard my readings before, remember how I used to refer to heaven as the lobby? Turns out I was right. So what the stupid men call the impenetrable barrier, that's the firmament. That's where heaven is. It's the lobby. What is heaven for? It's to go from the mist, your spiritual self, into a physical self. And you can go to all sorts of places if you've pleased God. What you should be aware of is that because what it's looking like from what they're writing about is that there is what I call antimatter, which is what it is they should be aware, because they've done so many studies in physics labs on Earth, so they are aware that when something comes from the quantum field into the 3D. And what I mean by that is when it comes from nothing, there is a process whereby when it occurs is when there's a very sped up wind, a smashing of particles, and a brushing of photons against certain wavelengths, and then an electron will pop into existence. But when it does that, there will be an exact replica of whatever particle that was created in the quantum field. And so the word antimatter is quite fitting. It's an actual exact replica of whatever came into being. So there is an exact replica of you, but it's in spiritual form. All right. So now you know your true self doesn't die. The body is it's just physical stuff that your soul travels around in lower vibrational realms like the earth. So what's strange is that it's almost like it's a very dumb person who's looking at this. They're really dumb. They don't see the forest for the trees. Clearly, in this study, they've examined the impenetrable barrier of mass that divides the the upper and lower parts of the Van Allen radiation belts. They're aware that there's this buildup of positrons, and they're aware that there's antimatter for every particle that's existed. They're aware of rains of showers of electrons, in other words, electrons that behave differently from electrons that are here on Earth. They're aware that the overall structure of that is like a man-built rinky-dinky particle accelerator. And so what the Illuminata are doing, in other words, the Illuminata, I guess they've named themselves that. Can you imagine? It sounds like they think they're pretty illuminated, but in actual fact, they're mentally retarded. But in fact, anyone who is who has Down syndrome would be 10 times more intelligent than these people are. In fact, people with Down syndrome may be way more advanced than they are. They literally have every piece of evidence in front of them right now, and not only that, but what I found really interesting, and it just made me roll my eyes, is that the newest studies by scientists who are observing the galaxies, when they're finished their study, it must be bugging them, the first book of Genesis, because all these totally spiritless, self-righteous, denying God people, they'll do the study, but then when they produce the abstract, for some weird reason, a lot of them are mentioning the book of Genesis. So first I was kind of hopeful, but of course what they're doing is saying, oh no, it can't be this, because that. Well, why did you bring it up? Why take it out of your study? But see, they don't want to do that because it's so stark and glaring, their results, that they would look kind of suspicious if they didn't. The other thing is they may be afraid of the truth, so they're still thinking that they can manipulate people. And the way that they can manipulate you, by the way, is by threatening you and making fun of you. This is why you have to look at adults who don't believe in God and who haven't taught you the truth. If you're a child, you keep your mouth shut about this, because these people are stupid and they're dangerous. So you just lay low and stay out of their line of vision and don't draw their ire. They will be dead soon. They will be dead. And if you just start praying and keep your mouth shut and pray to the aliens, say hello to them, they can feel you. They can feel you because they pick up on unconditional love. All right? So that's all you have to do. You don't need anyone, or you don't have to talk to anyone. You could just watch these readings. All right? You don't even have to contact me. Just watch my readings. If you have a particular question, you can email me, and I will address it on the videos. Okay, just go to the videos, and I will address how you can go to that cool place, that slate heaven, and there you will be able to decide which other worldly realm you'd like to go to. So you may be wondering what's happening to the chosen ones. It's really exciting. What I believe is going to happen is because what I'm getting from a woman, female energy from one of the councils, is that the plan is they have to sit back and they're aware that it's too late. They did everything they could. There have been a lot of meetings over the past few decades when they started realizing that we were headed towards massive destruction through our own stupidity. And out of the good of their heart, they have been maintaining. All of us would be dead by now were it not for, and the earth would be destroyed already, were it not for the aliens and the Galactic Federation. They are on constant watch because, so they, at one point a few months ago, they had everything deactivated. But of course, the states are the atomic scientists, who are the very evil people. They're going down anyway. They are building new warhead. There's more nuclear weapons now than there ever have been. But man thinks that they can hide things from the aliens, and they're so stupid compared to the aliens. They're just disgustingly stupid. So the aliens have already prevented what would have been apocalyptic accidents because of the stupid men at CERN. The men at CERN are trying to find a way to because they know the earth is is not, they are aware that they've destroyed everything, so they're in a rush now to try to get into another dimension, and they think they can, but they've got a problem, and I'm not going to tell anyone what it is, because they just, it's going to be fun watching them screw up. If they, now you might think that I'm being mean. No, I'm not, because I'm going to get, and for any member of the Illuminati, do you want to redeem yourself? Yep, you got a chance. Do you want to live forever? You still can. But here's what you've got to do. You have to get rid of the ego. You got to get down on your knees before God, and you have to do it publicly. And you have to reveal every single lie and every single evil thing that you've done, and you will be forgiven. But they are so stubborn, they'll dig their own grave. The problem is, what they don't realize is they are going to die, and what will happen with their souls is it will go into what's called the chasm, and it's not out of, nobody's punishing them. They are so disconnected from the higher energies that you've heard of the Grim Reaper, right? Well, there actually is a form of the Grim Reaper, but the Grim Reaper is actually kind. The Grim Reaper, what the Grim Reaper will do is extract the soul from somebody. Let's say there's been somebody who's been extremely abused, and so they disconnected from everything. And so when they die, they would be in the position of one of these evil men of the Illuminati. So God will send grace and mercy and send the Grim Reaper, who literally has some way of extracting the soul from their body, because it's just so the soul is so bound to the physical, because there's no confidence that it thinks it's the material. So those who the Grim Reaper comes to, they will be saved. But those are not bad people. They've just been very terribly abused. The reason why, by the way, the death card is associated with Scorpio is because of that. The Grim Reaper often has to go to a Scorpio to help Scorpio's soul get out, because poor old Scorpio, every deacon of Scorpio is usually the product of very, very terrible, evil child abuse. And so they're deep down, they're good souls. They're very powerful. They will stand up for God in this physical earth, if they can learn to trust someone. They can be the most faithful, loyal, powerful. They will defend who they love to the bitter end. They are the most courageous, but they're a product of terrible abuse. So the Grim Reaper is a friendly angel who knows how to extract the soul out and bring it along. If you want to ascend, go to heaven and go somewhere really cool as a physical being and enjoy eating in it, you can, but you either need God to do it or you need the Grim Reaper. So you can see what the problem is here. The evil men who have been lying, the worst problem, believe it or not, are the lies. That's what they're most that is lying is, and deliberately hurting people are really the only two things that can put you in the chasm, and defying God. Of course, if you can't defy God, but or deny God as well. Anyway, I think you get the idea. If you want to live forever, just keep your mouth shut, listen to my videos, and just pray. And don't disrupt anything. And do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Release the fear from your heart. Do you know why? Because you do not have to fear any man in this world as long as you are the faithful, loyal servant of God. So what do? You walk in peace, and you don't fight. You don't lower yourself to anyone else's negative energy. You don't steal, you don't lie, and you keep your balance. And and you pray as much as you can and do as much good deeds as you can, forgive people, treat others the way that you know is the way that you want to be treated. In other words, nobody, I'm sure that nobody, well, it's probably better just to say, make sure that in every action, in every thought, in every intention, that your intentions toward people are peaceful at a minimum. You just keep it there. You don't have to wish that other people do well. You just have to not wish that they would suffer. That's all. That's what peace is. You just keep, you keep to yourself and look turn your attention toward good people who seek the truth and who don't judge or make anyone else feel embarrassed or bad or lonely. All right. And if you're at the end, or if you're still listening right now, you have all the knowledge that you need. When the apocalyptic event happens, which will not, it's not the reason, nobody's punishing anyone. What's happening is it's just the result of us damaging the environment and the impact that the warble and the resonance, it affects everything. All you have to do is do your very best to stay calm, and you just start praying silently. It's pray to God, pray to the Galactic Federation. You don't have to know who they are or where they are. They will hear you, and you don't even have to speak. They will find you, and you will be safe. And I might even meet you in the 5D. Finally, what I wanted to say was, what I understand the plan is, and I believe that they have almost everything worked down, right down to the last molecule. These are the Galactic Federation. These alien beings are so intelligent and so loving. It's just mind blowing. So what they've decided is they figure they know what's going to happen, and they're going to try to resurrect the earth. They're going to the physical earth, and so the chosen ones will not physically die. But what's different about what they're doing now is this will be the first time ever that that a planet, along with people who are on it, are both quantum jumping together without dying. So Mother Earth actually isn't going to die. She's going to be rejuvenated and resurrected and made new. That's all I know. I don't know any other specifics. In some manner or form, that is what will be done. All right, guys, I love you so much. Thank you for listening. I'm going to keep the comments off. I hope you can forgive me for that.